Sorry, you might have skipped. Well, perfect. So the first thing I want to call out is obviously there's a lot of different social media platforms that exist in the world. You might be familiar with Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Spotify, TikTok, etc. So when you think about LinkedIn, you might be thinking, where does this app really come into my life? And how do I properly engage? So it's important to just understand the relationship here. So maybe a sillier, trivial example, but with donuts, for example. On Facebook, maybe you might post a status, I like donuts. Snapchat, maybe take a picture of watching me eat donuts and sending that to your friends. Instagram as well. But really, where does LinkedIn fit in with this hypothetical passion for donuts? Well, really, with that professional mindset, maybe you hope to operate a donut shop in the future, or you're looking for a job related to donuts, or you want to communicate or showcase your donut innovation and sales experience. So, whether you're interested in starting a new career as a small business donut owner or making sure that you maintain, you want to make sure that you maintain that professional mindset. And make sure that LinkedIn is that safe place to engage, whether it's donuts or your future career. LinkedIn's mission is truly to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful, which is why I kind of led with that donut example. The way you should approach statuses or approach colleagues or peers that you're trying to network with on LinkedIn is through that professional lens. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Of course, you do want to be authentic and you are allowed to share from that personal side as well. But really, if you want to gut check yourself before you comment on something or post something, it should be, would I be okay if a future employer saw this? So again, always having that professional mindset in top of mind for you. So, really, what is LinkedIn? What are we about? We provide an environment, and actually, it's more than 900 million professionals at this time. So, really, that number just keeps climbing per second, really. But we provided a large environment for folks to engage with one another, organizations, influencers, for you all to connect, learn, and develop. For job seekers, there are more than 75 million employers on the platform, offering more than 20 million job opportunities. And that's just a stat in the last 12 months, and that's in more than 200 countries. So, again, we'll touch more about that personal versus professional, but with all of this, anytime you're going to post a status, engage with a post or share something on the platform, that's why it's so important to have that professional outlook top of mind because it really is a place where you can land your next job. So now moving on a little bit to the profile building aspect. We just covered a few tips and tricks there about LinkedIn and stats, but now to dive into the meat of our presentation. So first off, if you do not have an account today, highly recommend you to sign up. As I shared with those stats, it's a great place to, find a future employer, find a job opportunity, or even just simply connect with an SU alumni to pick their brain, to ask them questions, to network, and really learn from others. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile today, highly encourage you to maybe pull that up, follow along as I go through some of these tips and tricks. So it might sound very basic, but the first ultimate step is creating your profile and adding that photo. Similar to Instagram or Facebook, with those platforms, you want to make sure you have that profile photo. And we have the stats to back it up. As you can see, stats that we found over time is you get 9 times more connection requests, 20 times more profile views, and 36 more times messages, especially in this age of spam and bots. Adding that profile picture kind of just signals that, hey, I'm a real person, and this is what I look like. So having that profile picture is very important. And you don't necessarily need a professional headshot. Even if you use your iPhone, the quality is really good though. There these days, just tips would be, clear background, nothing too cluttered, and just make sure it's not, a photo taken at a party 10 years ago and it's something more recent as well. Also want to call out, don't forget that background header photo, your city, company, something else that speaks to you, maybe donuts, again with the donuts theme. So really think of your profile picture, but as well as your header as that first place to make that first impression and start to tell that story of who you are. One relatively new resource we have is recording your name. So you can also allow others to understand the pronunciation before they meet you. You do need to do this in the mobile app, however, but you can do this when you click edit profile screen and it can record up to 10 seconds. So this is something you have an option now. It's fairly new, so no worries if you've had a profile for a couple years and just didn't realize this. It's sneaky. It's on the mobile app, so it's a newer feature as well. Another relatively new feature is the ability to add in your pronouns if you want to showcase that on your profile. A few stats here as well. 70% of job seekers believe it's important that recruiters know their pronouns, and 72% of hiring managers believe it's important as well, so they can understand and respect your pronouns. So again, love that we have this feature, and no worries if you missed it and had a LinkedIn profile for years. The name pronunciation as well as this is relatively new. Awesome. Now you can even create and record a cover story. So a 30-second video introducing yourself. I love this for a few reasons. You can use it to give a better sense of who you are, what you're passionate about, or a call to action, like if you're hiring. The video intro gives you a little bit of a snippet about your personality and who you are. So really think of it as your elevator pitch. Sometimes I have students that ask me, what's really the difference between LinkedIn and Indeed or a resume or something like that? And I would say with LinkedIn, it's really this ability with through these various features that I'm showing you and will continue to show you to let people know a little bit more about who you are versus a resume can put you in a box, right? Like if you just upload your resume, it just dictates, I have these skills and I don't have these skills. Versus with your LinkedIn profile, it really gives that flair for you to show a little bit more about your personality, whether it's with this 30-second video or the bio, which we'll be covering as well in a second. So we've covered a few key components. You have your profile picture established, so people know you're not spam or a bot. You have your potential pronouns, name pronunciation, or even video cover story. But now, like I mentioned, you can start to add a little bit more about who you really are. Instead of the resume saying, hey, I have these skills and these experiences, you can really speak and elaborate and add more color to it. The first thing that people will learn about you beyond your photo is your headline. That's the title that's right underneath your name on your profile. So this will default to what your current role is. So for example, mine defaulted at first to customer success manager. That's my current title at LinkedIn. But you can think of it more as publishing by line. So maybe you want to have something a little bit more creative, like avid lifelong learner and tech professional, or AI enabled tech professional. So something that kind of speaks a little bit more about who you are and makes it more punchy. You can think of it like that. Beyond your role, you might use it to put where you're an alumni of. So shout out Santa Clara. Other companies you worked for. I've seen a lot of people that say like ex Meta, ex Facebook, or sorry, that's the same company, ex Meta, ex Amazon, or a call to action like I'm hiring or I'm open to work. So again, beyond your photo, this is really prominent real estate for you to optimize because this is one of the first things that employers are going to see or other professionals in the space as you're trying to network with them. Beyond your headline is also your summary. So think of this as your longer elevator pitch. It's a place for more dynamic storytelling and not just a repeat of what's included in your resume. So I would highly recommend you to not just copy and paste what's in your resume, copy and paste in what's your cover letter, but really use this real estate to tell a little bit more about who you are. So maybe talk about what you're passionate about. So like I said earlier, LinkedIn, although I would always recommend you to defer with that professional mindset, this is a space where you can be a little bit more personal. Are you passionate about hiking and running and being outdoors? Are you passionate about community service and giving back to others? How you help your teams or customers, why culture is so important to you. A best practice is using first person and in a paragraph format. It's a little less formal and disarming, so it's a typical approach I would recommend there. And I understand that these can be hard to write, maybe feel a little awkward and even daunting, but you should only have to really write this once. It should stay somewhat generally consistent despite the different roles you even take on. So, again, on the slide here, just a few best practices. So, around 40 plus words, focus on your accomplishments and aspirations. And I would recommend speaking in the first person and paragraph format. Um, One example that really stood out to me was a student that blended her personal and professional experiences. She led with, "Hey, I'm X. I'm really passionate about giving back to the community. These are a few things in my personal life I really love. And this is how it blends and shows up in my professional life. And this is why I'm looking for a career in this industry." So, really, this place, again, shouldn't be just a copy paste dump of your resume or cover letter. It should be an opportunity for you to tell more of your story. Next, and maybe obvious, but you definitely should fill out your work experience. This is really where, again, it shouldn't necessarily be a copy and paste of your resume here. I've seen people have different flares and styles with this. Some people will mimic bullet point style here, but some people write like a very short story format, indicating their growth, their main learnings, and impacts in the role. So, again, instead of just a resume, which sometimes can put you in that box, you have the skill, yes or no. This is really a great area to elaborate more and add more color. Maybe explaining how those skills transfer to your future career aspirations or why you made that pivot jump. Something we talk about a lot at LinkedIn is that careers are non-linear. So again, in that about section or even within your own work detail section, it's a chance to tell more about that story. Why did you jump industries, what your motivations are, etc. Um, and absolutely, it makes sense. But as you detail your work experience, we have stats here that show you have 5 times more connection requests, more profile views, and 10 times more messages. You really want it to be in a readable format for all of your experiences. So think about it just like writing a small chapter in your life story here. And something else that you have an opportunity to do is adding media. So, for example, when I was at SCU, I was a writer for the Odyssey, and I was actually able to link my specific article. So, kind of showing the evidence, right? Instead of just being like, "I'm a writer," you can link the actual articles. Or, "Hey, in class, I worked on these projects." If you have a deliverable on it, you can link it as well. So kind of showing that evidence and really showing, not just telling. So I would definitely consider, if you're comfortable, leveraging that media portion to stand out, and it really highlights your accomplishments or contributions. One thing that's easy to do and really beneficial, similar to that call out I just mentioned about adding media within your work experience, is featuring content on your profile. So for any post that you create, there's three little dots to the upper right, you might notice. And you can click this to feature your content and pin specific content to the top of your profile that you want to make sure is highly visible. So again, it's just a great way to add a bit of color and testimonial to your experience. A lot of that showing, not just telling. Like, I'm a writer. Okay, well, here are my articles I've written, or I'm very innovative. All right, well, here's a couple of snapshots of the projects I've worked on. So, again, highly recommend adding the media to the work descriptors or pinning and highlighting those content, featuring those contents too. And lastly, don't forget about the rest of the basics, but education. So shout out Santa Clara for me. Um, any location that actually does make a difference, as I've noticed the world is becoming hybrid. Recruiters do like to notice that, like, hey, did you jump around a lot? Are you based here? That might make it easier for them to align on a role with you. So it is important to now add location as well, just to give a sense, like, I'm based out of the Bay. An SF recruiter might reach out to me. Like I mentioned earlier, any publications, adding this section to your profile to feature all your great work is amazing. And then lastly, accomplishments. Have you received an industry honor or an award? These are just great things to highlight as well. There's even a section below next to all these things with volunteer. And I remember through Santa Clara, I was actually a volunteer at Cristo Rey High School. So that's something I made sure to add to my LinkedIn profile. So yeah, absolutely. If you're volunteering, you're doing anything, feel free. Awesome. I don't see any questions in the chat. So I will now continue on. We've talked a lot so far about boosting up your profile, which sections to really make sure you're paying attention to. But now let's talk about taking it to the next level and how to now leverage LinkedIn to build a strategic network. Oops. Oh no, it got stuck. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So now we're around bullet point three. All right. There are many ways to engage with your network, like building your connections, and if job seeking, requesting informational interviews. You can also like and share things that people in your network might care about, because when you like things, people can see them too. You can also join groups to exchange insights with people of similar backgrounds or interest, or you can support your peers through recommendations and networking opportunities. I absolutely love using LinkedIn to network. And I know for some, it can feel awkward or daunting at first, but something that I always remind myself to push myself is if you're not, it's the norm. If you're not doing it, other people are. And it's not something that people are, it's new anymore, really. It's something that everyone's doing and using their network to connect, have these coffee chats or informational interviews, and really, requesting for job referrals. So I would highly recommend if you do have some resistance or hesitancy, I totally understand that mental chatter, but just know you're not the only one. Everyone is now doing this. So it's a great muscle to get comfortable with. So I often get a lot of questions about how exactly you can build your network on LinkedIn. So here are a few best practices. Consider reaching out to people you have something in common with. So the obvious is maybe we're Santa Clara alumni. It's less friction. You can quickly connect with them, add a little note there saying, "Hey, go Broncos. Just wanted to connect with you because I saw, you were in the same major or you're working at a company I would love to learn more about." So, having that warm connection already is something you can quickly do to connect with others. Folks that have a job or work somewhere that interests you, who may be able to connect you with someone else. And when reaching out to someone who is a second or third degree connection, try not to overthink what you say. Keep it to who you are, why you came across their profile, and what you're looking for. So, again, hey, go Broncos. Saw you're currently working at Google. That's actually my dream company. Would love to connect with you if you're open to it. So, again, maybe feels a little cringe or uncomfortable at first, but everyone's doing it. It's kind of really the norm these days. So, again, definitely a muscle I would encourage you to get comfortable with and flex. The My Network tab can really help you jumpstart this network building. And I think this visual actually is a little outdated. We're constantly updating our platform, so I don't believe it looks just like this, but I believe it might be called something else. If not, it might be still My Network. It might be who you might know. But regardless, it's a synonym. You can find people of similar roles, people you might have worked with, or you can even add, there's an opportunity to add within your contacts list if you like to. So that's also another great way to kind of jumpstart that process if you're just building out your LinkedIn profile and wanting to boost your network. The feature also improves over time as it understands your connection patterns. So my advice is do not spam and click connect, connect, connect to everyone that you see that might say Santa Clara attached to them. Be thoughtful about it. You don't want to be flagged as a spam or a bot. But if you're just brand new to LinkedIn, yeah, absolutely. I would start building out your network, being intentional, but yeah, casting a wide net and trying to connect with people there. I know we briefly touched upon this, but an easy path in, if you will, is that main common connection. And really, that's the alumni network. And that's why it's so great being a Bronco, if you are one, because we have such an amazing network. I've met so many people. And actually, that's how I got my job at LinkedIn. I connected with three Broncos at LinkedIn. And they were so kind to hop on coffee chats with me, give me referrals, coach me through the process. So, yeah, especially if you're about to start at SCU or about to graduate, definitely tap into that alumni tool. I found that Broncos are really nice and always want to help. So definitely feel free to reach out, me being one of them if you want to reach out. But yeah, when you go to the company page, so if you were to type in Santa Clara University, um, you will see, or sorry, you go to, yeah, absolutely, navigate to Santa Clara University. You can see alumni there. So you can see where they live, where they work, what they currently do, what they studied. So yeah, let's say that you're on this alumni tab, but you don't know what to do to reach out. Well, you're in luck. We have some few examples here. You can really, have an informational interview request here. You can say, for example, hi, Aaron, I'm currently exploring careers in communications. I really admire your experience and accomplishments in the industry, and I appreciate to hear about it. Would you be able for a quick chat over the phone in the next few weeks? I look forward to hearing from you. This example is great. It's really, being personalized, creating the why behind it. Why do you want to connect with her? Because of that commonality. The only thing I would add is before jumping into the ask, having a little bit of research done. So maybe saying, "Hey, Aaron, I noticed you're a Bronco at Santa Clara. You are a Bronco, and that right, you study communication just like me." And then go into the ask. So that's my only feedback from this message I'm seeing personally. But besides that, it's very clear. It's to the point. It's appreciative. I think that's also underrated. Just letting people know you're really thankful for their time is something that, at least for me, when I get a million messages, I really appreciate the people that just simply say thank you versus folks that might just get to the ask and not extend that gratitude. It does make a difference. We're all human, so we do appreciate that. But yeah, essentially, when you're asking for these informational interviews to network with folks, coming in again with that professional mindset, maybe you want to get advice from them on their career path, learn more about the industry they're in or that specific company. And really, it's a chance to make a new connection. I've cold messaged people on LinkedIn, and there are some people I still keep in contact with today, and they're formal mentors or informal mentors. But really, this is, a great way to build your network, help your career development, and ultimately, some of these folks might be able to give you referrals to their companies. So I would say in the messaging, be clear and concise, have gratitude where you can, and that personalization as well. So, like we've already been talking about, sometimes going for the ask when it comes to a referral, not just a coffee chat or informational interview, is appropriate. So, you can mention you saw an open position, you're looking for an internal advocate. 60% of the workforce has referred someone to their company. So, it is very common these days to get jobs now through referrals and not just cold applying. So, I would highly recommend the referral route. Even at LinkedIn, when you get a referral, you're actually in a completely different bucket than if you were just a cold apply on the website. And I believe that's, I wouldn't be surprised if that's similar across other companies too. So again, referrals actually really do make a difference when you are applying for jobs. And like I said, how I pretty much got all my opportunities at LinkedIn and various companies. Another way to add again towards that show not tell that we've been talking about is requesting for recommendations on your profile. So again, using your network here to boost up your profile. Recommendations on LinkedIn are like references from people in your network. So you can do this by scrolling to the bottom of your profile. You'll see it right there where it says request recommendation, and you can select, your relationship to this person, indicate whether you worked with them in a role and customize your message when you're asking them for a referral. So, who should you might consider asking? Current or former, maybe professors if you haven't been in the workforce yet, but if you are, maybe managers, colleagues, or maybe teammates, right? If you've worked with them on a really intensive project, and people who have mentored or advised you professionally. That could be nonprofit training programs, that could be through, Santa Clara's alumni network, etc. So like I said, really the way you treat others matter because especially if you are looking for informational interviews or referrals to companies or even just asking folks to write, a recommendation on your profile, your brand does stay with you. They'll remember, yeah, she was super nice when she first reached out. Of course, I'd be happy to write her a recommendation, or oof, she just only sent one sentence and barely considered my time, right? So I would say, again, while LinkedIn is a place where you should be your authentic self, always leading and deferring to that professional mindset is how I would recommend it as you are DMing people or messaging them on LinkedIn, writing clearly and concisely and not just as if you were to message a friend on Snapchat or something like that. Awesome. So again, with the theme of building your professional network, and reaching out to other people. If you are thinking of reaching out and connecting, again, I would advise not to just click connect, 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 because we actually do flag for spam with that behavior. So I would be intentional. It's important to build your network, but again, important to still act with intention. And one way you can act with intention is customizing your connection request to explain why you're interested in adding someone to your network. Whether it's to learn about their career journey through an informational interview, or just because you want to have them in your broader network because you have something in common. And again, to emphasize, if you're unsure about doing this or feels uncomfortable, keep in mind that more than 60% of the workforce has referred someone to work at their company. It's definitely the norm about how people get employment these days. So building that network, asking people referrals is very common. So yeah, absolutely. I would highly recommend building your network this way. Another reason why it might be important for you to add new connection requests is because if you do not have LinkedIn Premium, you cannot just message someone that you're not connected to. You have to be connected to them in order to message them back and forth freely. Otherwise, it might take what's called like an in-mail credit. So that's also another reason why you might consider adding someone to your network. You want to, pick their brain about something. You would like to request an informational chat or coffee chat. So the first step would be to add them so that you can send them that message. Awesome. So you've nailed your profile. You nailed on how to navigate with your network. LinkedIn is also a place where you can grow professionally on your own. Oops. There we go. The slide just got stuck. So I honestly feel like I really use LinkedIn as a news source because it is such a good way to see what companies are doing. A lot of times, if there's a product release, like OpenAI, for example, Anthropic, all these big AI companies, they're shipping new models and capabilities every day. And I feel like it's been so helpful to follow them on LinkedIn and get right in the know when they're immediately posting. A lot of times, employees at these companies too are posting and advertising it, thought leaders. So it's just a great way to stay connected to the companies you care about by following them on LinkedIn. You can do this by following their company page. So simply searching for them under companies in the search box. And like I mentioned, it helps you stay on top of news, trends, product launches. Sometimes they'll even announce, like, hey, we're hiring a ton. And it might not just be like a job posting, they're just announcing in a status. So it's just a great way to stay connected. And I do this actually with all of my higher ed institutions I work with. Well, on Sales Navigator, but it's fun to follow companies you care about, institutions you care about, to keep you up to speed. I see a question in the chat. If attempting to get an internship at a company would reflect badly to try and connect with multiple people within the same department or ask multiple people for referrals? That's a really great question, Blaze. I would say best practice there is definitely when it comes to a referral on the back end, only one person can really refer you. It wouldn't actually help your case if three people submitted that referral, because again, when you click refer, you kind of are in the recruiter system as just one referral. However, it is helpful to expand that probability of getting a referral. So yeah, absolutely. I would reach out to top two people that are within that team you're interested in joining and see who bites, who is open to a coffee chat because sometimes it is a numbers game. People are really busy, they might miss their inbox, or two, sometimes for me, it kind of shows up in that other part of the inbox for some reason if I'm not, especially if I'm not connected with them. So I would say it's definitely not an issue to reach out to multiple people. But when it comes to getting the literal referral, only one is needed. And that's the only one with that would be seen from the recruiter anyway. But the reason why it wouldn't hurt to chat with multiple people is it's always really good to get insights about what the team is working on, right? So sometimes getting multiple perspectives is really helpful and it shows you really care. When I had my internship at Meta, throughout my interview process, I mentioned that. I said, I'm so excited about this opportunity. I actually reached out to three people on the team to learn more. So it really shows your commitment and your interest, because again, you're really putting that effort to learn more. Also, what I absolutely love about coffee chats and informational interviews is that sometimes the job posting doesn't really highlight, or the internship posting really truly highlight the full scope. And people on that team can really share that with you. For example, they might be saying, hey, yeah, like a gap on our team right now is we don't have someone with this type of mindset or experience. That might not be what the job posting said, right? It's just sharing the basic qualifications, what they're looking for. But when you have these coffee chats and you connect with people, you can ask them those deeper layered questions that can help you stand out and tailor your answers in that interview. Hopefully that answered the question. Let me know though if there's a follow-up there. Awesome. That was a really good question. But moving on then, if there isn't a follow-up there, you can also follow industry influencers to stay on top of key trends, topics, and insights from the people you respect and admire. And so when you follow someone, you always see their activity across your feed in LinkedIn. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you versus having to type in their name every time and see what they have to say. And I love this because that's actually another way I've stood out in interviews is sharing my industry insights. I mean, like I followed this person in space. I think it's so interesting they said this, or something they posted, maybe I've reposted. So I would say following companies as well as people is really important. And then also, as a member on LinkedIn, we give you full control over your feed. So we want to empower you to consume the content that matters most. So you can manage your feed preferences by clicking on the three dots on the top right of any post and select Improve My Feed. You can, as much as you can follow folks, you can actually unfollow them too. So if they're not, interest of you, they're spamming maybe, you can unfollow them. You can hide posts that aren't relevant to you. So clicking the three dots on the top right and selecting Hide Post. And you can also report inappropriate content if you see it, and it will flag that to our team. So we pull it out of the feed. We care a lot about member privacy and safety. So absolutely feel free to flag anything if it's inappropriate. Awesome. Well, wrapping us up, I know we're nearing time here. Um, would love to just give a shout out quickly to LinkedIn Learning. I know not everyone on this call might have access, but if you are a current Santa Clara student, faculty, or staff member, you are part of our enterprise program. And so you have full access to our library and everything I might show you quickly here. We have over 20K plus courses in our library, whether it's AI, business, but also creative and personal development. Content is driven by membership and industry insights, with more than 60 courses being added per week. If you're not currently a Santa Clara faculty, staff, or student, you can also, on your own through LinkedIn Premium, get access. So that is another way if you are interested to explore that. And like I mentioned, we have a wide range of topics. I don't expect you to be able to read this fine text as quickly, but just want to call out again, we just have a ton, whether it's time management, video editing, web development, AI, etc., which is a lot of wide span content here. We also have the ability for certificates and that digital badging to demonstrate accomplishments and developments. So as we were talking through that profile piece, this is a great way if you feel like you want to boost up your profile and don't have, media or things you can add, you could just take a quick LinkedIn Learning course, and then push that to your profile. Perfect. We also have a lot of certification prep and CEU courses. And for the first time ever, we also include professional certificates for many in-demand skills, especially technical skills. So again, if you're a current faculty, student, or staff, you all have access to our library, to our features. So feel free if you have questions about how to obtain your license. You can reach out to me or Melissa, who can reach out to me, and I can help you all get set up with that.
You're getting some love in the chat for LinkedIn Learning,
Oh,
Ivana.
amazing. Yeah, absolutely. We do have some free courses for all of our members, however, at opportunity.linkedin.com. So just want to give some love for folks that, might not be able to access this. Feel free to check out that resource. We do have a lot that we try to publish that's accessible to everyone. Again, connecting to our mission, we want to empower the world's professionals. So it's not just through these paid platforms. We also have a blog that you can identify industry trends. We try to release annual reports that you can see how like the workforce is developing. So again, feel free to check out our blog or opportunity.linkedin.com just to see some resources as well that we offer to everyone. Again, oh, sorry, my slide got stuck here. Yeah, we've included some paths for general career readiness, interview prep, and practice for the 26 most common behavioral interview questions. So we've tried to create that one-stop shop for career readiness wherever you are on your journey. Awesome. And just to wrap us up today, a summary of what we covered. Thank you all for your intention and engagement. It's been a great space to share more. So hopefully you took something away today. But just to kind of really quickly summarize via this checklist today, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, we talked about the importance of a photo, banner, and headline. Um, Optional but really great features like the pronoun, cover video, or name pronunciation. We talked about the description section, right? This is a great way to share how the skills if you're, for example, when I was a server at Chevy's, I spoke to how those transferable skills really built up my career and are, great for experiences like in sales, which was the industry, the role I was trying to break into the time. So really using that work experience to tell your story. And then lastly, towards the end, certifications and accomplishments, education, etc. For building a strong network, we talked a lot about making thoughtful connections, not trying to spam and add 1,000 people at once, but adding a connection request with a personalized note, staying in touch with people, leaning into the SCU or other, whatever school you might be part of that alumni network. And this is a great way to ask for informational interviews, building relationships to ask for referrals, as well as considering LinkedIn Learning or leveraging opportunity.linkedin.com for our free tools and resources as well. So thank you so much for your time today, and I will now open it up to Q&A if there is any.
Thanks so much, Ivana. Can we get a round of applause for Ivana first? What a great presentation.
Oh, thank you. I see
Yeah.
a question from Cody. Oh, sorry, Melissa, if I cut you
Yep,
off.
nope. I was just getting together. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was excited seeing the love in the chat. Thanks to Blaze and Rory. And then, yeah, I noticed the question. How would you convert an informal interview into an actual job opportunity? What do you think you should be doing after the interview? That's a great question. Um, I'm really glad you raised that, Cody. So really my approach, and I'm speaking from personal experience, but also best practices that we've seen with data from LinkedIn. So first with personal experience, when I was trying to get an internship, like I mentioned at Meta, I reached out to a few people with that formula we talked about earlier, right? So hi, blah, blah, blah. Saw on your profile that you've had a really successful career at Meta. Congratulations. You even just got promoted. So, again, that personalization, it shows you did your research and this isn't just like a copy and paste message you're just doing and blasting to everyone. People really love that personalization. And then go in for the ask and with gratitude. So, I'm actually applying for the blah, blah, blah internship, the SMB account manager internship at Meta. I'd be really thankful if you had 10 to 15 minutes to connect with me. I read the job posting, but since you've been there for so many years, I'd love to pick your brain if you're open to it. Again, do you have 10 minutes next Tuesday or Thursday? Appreciate it in advance. So, again, my tip there is really leading with gratitude. Some of these people are getting thousands of messages per day. And so to really stand out, it's just acting with kindness and showing them, you really appreciate their time. So that is my first step in just getting that informal interview or coffee chat with a team member. From there, when we do hop on the call, I come prepared with questions. So we're not just, wasting their time. I'm saying, hey, Thank you for, your time today. I noticed in the job posting they're looking for this type of person. Do you mind elaborating on that? My favorite question to ask is, what are the team's top priorities and challenges at this time? Because that will tell you a lot. When I was going up for that SMB account manager internship at Meta, I learned that they actually were looking for a more sales related person. The job was more similar to marketing at the time on the job posting, but I uncovered from that informational interview, that coffee chat, that the team was looking for more person with experience in sales. So I was like, boom, that's perfect. That's the experience I've had up until this point. So I was really able to tailor my interview answers to really highlight my sales experience because I had this insider info and intel there. Um, so again, I kind of jumped a few steps, sorry. But when I got on that coffee chat with that person, again, I try to uncover additional information to help me understand this role better, to help me better stand out. But essentially, from the informational interview, it's not just uncovering insights, it's also going in for the ask, for the referral. Like I mentioned earlier, when you get a referral at a lot of these companies, you actually bubble up in a different inbox for the recruiter. You're in a different spotlight, and there's that rapport there as well. If someone at that company is referring you, recruiters tend to feel like that's credible. So obviously tons of great reasons why referrals are helpful, but for those main ones. So from that coffee chat I had with that person at Meta, again, asking them questions to uncover insights, but let's be honest, I was also softly pitching myself. When I mentioned what's the team's top priorities and challenges, they mentioned, yeah, we're really focused on converting business within our ad space. Actually, the team's really looking for a salesperson because most people have marketing backgrounds. So X, Y, and Z. So I didn't just move on to the next question. Okay, tell me about this. I pitched myself. I said, that's so amazing you say that. I've actually had a ton of sales experience. These are my sales experiences, and this is why I think actually I could be a great fit for this opportunity. Thanks for sharing that. So at the end of this coffee chat, I had two wins. I uncovered more insights that can help prepare myself for the interview. But at the end, again, I've been softly pitching myself, planting that seed. So at the end of this chat, I said, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited about this opportunity. By chance, would you be open to giving me a referral? I think I could be a great fit, and I'd be happy to send over my resume or any other details that might make you feel more comfortable with submitting this referral for me. No pressure either way. And honestly, I didn't even know that person. This person lived in Texas and he gave me a referral to Meta. And obviously I, did well throughout the interview process, other steps, but that was, I think, what got me in the door and helped me bubble up my resume. So I would say to your question, how would you convert an interview, a coffee chat into an actual opportunity? That is how I would do it. One, leverage that chat to uncover insights so you can position yourself when you do get that interview. And two, go in for the ask at the end of the call, go in for the referral. I would say read the room, however, if the conversation didn't go potentially very smoothly, or you weren't able to really, pitch yourself as you'd like, you could still go in for the ask, but again, I would still lead with that appreciation and no pressure mindset. Sometimes at companies, when they give referrals, they have to write a little blurb, like, how do you know this person? Have you worked with them directly? So again, in my case, it ended up working out for me, but I do understand some companies are really specific. So I would still go in with the ask, but say no pressure either way. Happy though to make your life easier. I could submit my resume or a quick blurb on myself if that would make it easier for you. So hopefully, Cody, that wasn't too long-winded of an answer and it was helpful. But let me know if you have any, yeah, follow-up questions there.
Any other questions? And Noel just posted also that we have a job prep toolkit with a lot of different resources for things like this as well. But I really like Ivana's answer.
Thanks.
And yeah, Cody expressing his thanks. Anyone else have any questions that you either want to come off mute or type them in the chat? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, again, Ivana, thank you so much. Before you all hop off, I'm just curious if I could maybe grab the screen share. Is that okay, Ivana?
Yeah, sure. I'll stop sharing so we can see
I'm
it.
going to actually share my screen just for a little bit. This is the third of our virtual summer workshop series. with Ivana here today, but we have one more left this summer, and it's going to be a panel, tips from recruiters happening in August 12th on Wednesday, also from 12 to 1 p.m. So if you like this kind of content or you think this could be helpful, this will be great for students that might be looking for ways to position themselves in the future, for anyone that might be looking for a job transition, or anyone that's just trying to stay up to date with some of the trends that are happening in the space of recruiting. This is going to be a really great panel for you. With that, I think that brings us to the end of our hour. So thank you so much again, Ivana, and thank you all of you for investing your time and energy for this webinar on this Friday afternoon. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye
Thanks,
now.
Ivana.